move from side to side. We gon' make you lose all inside your mind. Oh, we gon' get you through this just for one more high. So baby, let's orbit tonight. We gon' make you move from side to side. We gon' make you lose all inside your mind. Oh, we gon' get you through this just for one more. So baby, let's orbit tonight. Let me get funky. Let's lose our mind. Let me get funky.
new state, change your name, covered up scars from your parents' place. It's everything you need to move on. On my neck, wasted breath, tryna get with that someone next. I've never been the type to move on. Yeah, I never thought you were social, and now everybody knows your name. I know you'll take the world over, but I hope you don't forget this place. Don't you forget about me. Don't you forget about me. I know you're chasing your dream, but if you're facing my street, don't you forget about me. From the top, you're never gonna drop. Running my mouth for the race I lost. It's hopeless, puddles to oceans. Compare our devotions. Yeah, I wouldn't wanna end your party. Don't pity first or second. First want to know who you think you are. Cause I never thought you were social, and now everybody knows your name. I know you'll take the world over, but I hope you don't forget this place. Don't you forget about me. Don't you forget about me. I know you're chasing your dream, but if you're facing my street, don't you forget about me. love has got you feeling too much, it's feeling too much for you, then all my love is gonna dance with someone that shows love, not you. If all my love has got you feeling too much, it's feeling too much for you, then all my love is gonna dance with someone that shows love, not you. Has got you feeling too much, it's feeling too much for you, then all my love is gonna dance with someone that shows love, not you. Promise me you'll get me through. Just tell me I can do this too. For everything we fight to never lose. 'Cause everything we want, oh, is everything we need. Just like I need you. Oh, it's just like you need me. just tell me I can stand the truth. For everything we hope to never lose. 'Cause everything we want, oh, is everything we need. Just like I need you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mini RPG of the Week. I'm NuaLaoch. I'm joined by special guest Drizzly for week 16, 4 months exactly. And to celebrate it, we have you with us. How you feeling, Drizzly?
I'm excited to get into this one. Well, for one thing, I think Black Pulse showed up in my chat earlier, gave me a little nod, gave me a little hi. I'm excited to see what they've prepared for us today, and hopefully we'll get to see a little bit of what the drivers can bring to the track and see if they can.
Yeah, you got the wink and the nod, you got the call up, the tap on the shoulder, and here you are, ready to go. It should be a fun map, as you said. Black Pulse, not only our friendly neighborhood admin, also the mapper for this week. Our usual first week of the month mapper, Ars Velu, had some personal things going on, and so not able to make this week's map. And that means we get another Black Pulse special, which is going to be exciting for sure. Of course, the format is, as usual, a 15-minute warm-up where players discover a map that they and no one else has ever seen before, followed by Cup of the Day style knockout rounds. And we did start trying something a little bit different last week, which is significantly more knockouts in the early rounds. Instead of just having 4 players from round 1, because we were getting 80-plus players, we decided to move it to 8-plus players in the first few rounds, which means instead of 24 rounds, Connor, we might end up with about 16, 17.
Okay, well, I mean, more players, I mean, we're looking for that, right? It's what you'll love to see. More people picking up the game and getting into Mini RPG of the Week and RPGs in general, and just Trackmania. Love to see it.
Yeah, it's true. Plenty of players. We'll see what numbers end up being, and then, of course, we will do the first round classic, where we try and predict exactly how many players get knocked out in the first round, because, of course, there is always that timeout that happens as well, and we've had a few very close guesses. I myself once predicted, I want to say 23. We ended up with 24 players knocked out in round 1.
Yeah,
that one was great. We've had another one. Orion came on. He predicted, I think, 11 and 12 players got knocked out, or I think vice versa. So we've been very close a couple of times, but no one has ever gotten it bang on, apart from people doing the boring thing of being like, oh, I think just, 8 or 4 players will get knocked out, like the actual thing. That doesn't count, though. You got to predict how many players are going to miss.
Oh, yeah. Big time. I mean, especially when it comes to Trackmania and something like a knockout kind of event like this, you got to put it on the line. You got to risk a little bit to get a lot and to get ahead. And I mean, sometimes, going for the risky finish or something like that benefits you, but sometimes it can cost you everything. And, I guess that's the spirit of it, right?
Yeah, that's the joy of it. Listen, I know you've been discovering over the last few weeks exactly how much sometimes you need to risk it all in Trackmania, and exactly how much it costs, because that cost a lot of the time is your sanity, unfortunately.
It is a tax on the soul, yeah, I tell you that much. But
it's 2 a.m, you've been playing the track for the last 3 hours, you should have been in bed hours ago, and you've got the run, you're going to get the time, and oh no, that last turn is a real, it's a dickhead sometimes. And, that's Trackmania, that's the fun of it.
You decide to take an impromptu trip on a space flight simulator, and you're just tumbling in orbit. You're staring at the pale blue dot. You just took that little tight corner a little wrong, but you gotta try. Nothing risked, nothing gained. So okay, are we starting the warm up?
Yeah, warm-up is about to be underway here in just a hot second. Look, we're transitioning in. You managed to preempt it by mere seconds there. We're going to be on board with Yannick's as we make our way around Real Ease, a map that is entirely centered around releasing. A little bit of a pun there, Black Pulse. We saw what you did. I was debating whether or not to even give you the satisfaction of commenting on it, but I think we will. It's Real Ease by Black Pulse, a map that is Drizzly, built all about releasing.
Oh, yeah. Apparently as well, you'll need a little bit of fine motor control and the ability to maintain your grip on key and crucial parts of the map. So we'll see if that little trick, or not trick, but mechanic of the game where you release your acceleration in the air, getting some smooth landings and hopefully turning your car body in the right direction gets you those lines that you're looking for to make the tight turns and the curves. This is really an acrobatic looking map. I gotta be honest, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before.
Yeah, it's real stylish as well. Black Pulse did kind of say, hey, I didn't spend as much time mapping this one as the previous one that I mapped for the competition. But I think this is still turned out. It's simple, it's clean, and as someone whose choice of aesthetic is minimalism in general anyway, I am fully on board with the styling on this map.
This looks like a juicy one, I gotta be honest. There's a lot of nifty turns, a bit of aerial movement in weird and awkward ways, but at the same time, they said quite drivable all the same. Yannick's doing a little bit of a A little pike
it's a
tuck
wall
and
bang.
turn.
Yeah, you said drivable Black Pulse. What I'm seeing here is a wall bang into a backward section. So like,
Oh yeah.
what are you talking about? I mean,
Well, as a player
that's
who's new to the
spicy.
game, personally, this looks like quite an easy one. I think maybe not AT on the first couple tries, but you know, close enough.
Yeah, you're going to get there pretty quickly for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of 18, the times we're going to expect, I know we're not seeing many times set just yet as players still discover it. Ice up the top of the leaderboard, Tarpoor just behind, knowing the track now we're on board for a run with him. At the moment, around the 124 mark, that's going to improve rapidly all the way down to we're expecting around the kind of 59, 58 second mark. And then it has been said, 57 almost definitely possible. We're excited to see what a run that does that looks like.
Yeah, I'd love to see someone crack that 57, but you know, adrenaline, nerves, fine motor control can kind of go out the window in these high-intensity situations, but you'd love to see it happen. I mean, not only is your pride on the line versus the other racers, but just that second barrier, it's always so tantalizing, and let's hope that we see it today. Let's see what they got for us.
Let's see what they got for us indeed. It's probably not impossible to drive, and we do also have Black Pulse in chat saying that we're clueless because we haven't seen anything yet as we watch that backward section, so I'm a little bit nervous as we follow Tarpoor on board with a run as well to see exactly what is in store in the last turn. We have heard threats of a wall bang that is going to be quite difficult, so I'm going to watch this run through as we are seeing these release sections where you want to try and land early onto these ramps, get enough speed on the downwards momentum to actually carry that next jump into a precision driving section across what's not pipe but is very narrow platform, then a drop down here, and I believe a jump underneath. You want to try and actually make your way through these slats, keeping your speed up as you are now freewheeling into this next checkpoint, into this next section. Then once again, this is the bit where it's a classic, a very old RPG classic from previous games. Tarpoor will crash out backwards. This one is going to be a little bit tough. This may be the wall bang that we were talking about. I don't know. Is there more coming directly after this as well? It looks clean when it's done properly, and then it's backwards. You're trying to get over that yellow bit if you can, but it's quite hard to get enough speed to get all the way back to the red one, and then you're trying to make your way up to that finish with enough speed. If you don't make it, I believe, Drizzly, the answer is you gotta just go all the way back again with more speed, get further back on the booster, and then finish. So it's not a traditional risky fin, unless there is an entirely separate safe fin that we're missing. But I don't think there is. I think it's just a time loss if you can't get the quote-unquote risky fin first time.
That is incredible. I mean, like, even the wall bang, like, you have to use that to orient your car so that you're facing the right way in the first place. It's like, if you go into that, you know, reverse finish going the wrong way, like, good luck to you. You're just not going to get the speed. And like, even there where Looker's Turbo seems to have gotten it that first time after the quick reset to the checkpoint, like, they just barely missed it. It looked like they had everything going for them, everything was on their side, but just like maybe not even getting deep enough into the red booster pad. I don't know. It looks tricky. I don't know that author medal that I was jokingly talking about moments ago is even conceivable to me at this moment, let alone finishing the track.
As we'll see, Flixie there, yeah, it's an awkward landing, and there are going to be rounds even deep into the competition decided by that finish. It's a very, very tough one, and it's going to feel very hard for players to judge. I'm not going to call it inconsistent, because, you know, we're not that deep into the map yet, and we'll see how the players feel about it once we are a little bit deeper in. But it's definitely going to be incredibly difficult to learn how to make it consistent in only 15 minutes. The joy for the top players, as always, is that they kind of get a little bit more time, right? Like, there's some very good players in the server who you kind of expect won't be going out very early, and then they get all of the rounds of competition to try and figure it out.
Oh, and Looker's Turbo doing exactly what I was thinking about, just like managing to eke their way back to the red booster pad, but the amount of time you must lose going backwards before going forwards again, risk reward, you kind of have to figure that out now, and if you don't, when it comes to or die moment, when it comes to those latter rounds, it's gonna make all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And as has been mentioned, of course, you can do a double respawn. If you have a bad landing, just double respawn instantly. That's a skill that I've talked about in regards to mini RPG before, Drizzly, is that, yeah, you need to be able to pull the trigger in a rounds mode when, you know, you're racing against other people. You're not looking for that best possible run. Just being able to admit, okay, yeah, no, this has gone wrong. I need to respawn now, and pulling the trigger on that as early as possible. It's a legitimate skill.
Oh, true. One of the coaches I had in secondary school for sports always said it was all about ice in the mind, fire in the bellies, and the ice in the mind needed to make that judgment call under these like high pressure situations where, like we're talking about in an RPG like this, the fine margins matter. But at the same time, if your margin is way too wide in the first place, just have another go at drawing that line, you know?
What, are you trying to bring like secondary school maths into it as well? I'm finished with drawing margins, okay? I'm done with it. I left school years ago, Drizzly. You can't make me go back. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes, though. I have to say, you know, wall bang is a trick that goes back, like those kind of wall bounces where you bounce up onto a higher surface.
Yeah.
Is very much a staple of RPG, going back to older Trackmania games, Trackmania Nations Forever RPGs, Stadium RPGs as well.
Yeah.
That was very much a thing that you'd see in many of them. It's a little bit harder to do them well in Trackmania 2020, just because the car handles so differently, because it's much heavier, and because the acceleration penalty on hitting a wall is so much worse, it can feel awkward. I have to say, the one that has been done here, and we have to give credit to Black Pulse, it looks smooth when it goes well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've not seen wall bounces like this yet. I'm relatively new as far as chat might be concerned, but this wall bounce where, geez, you spin on like all three axes of the 3D plane just to get into position for this would you call it, a reverse finish? Oh, earnable.
Yeah, the reverse onto it, and then we'll see you have to go all the way back, and then you have plenty of speed to go up onto it. This is something that players should be starting to figure out now, though, as well, is how much speed do I need to make it far enough back on those boosters to then make the finish, right? Like, what constitutes a bad landing? This is the kind of thing that we have a 15-minute warm-up for, and that's the kind of thing that, you know, the better players in the server will be starting to figure out as well, is what can I afford to, like, continue as a run, and what will be a forced respawn.
Big time. I mean, looking at, like, the earlier sections of the map, and the map kind of teaches you as it goes what, as a good map should, what to expect going forward in the map. So we see these release landings to get your angle right so that you're getting the most acceleration and traction when you land. And in particular, when you do that last wall bang to, you know, do that reverse section of the track to finish, knowing how much speed you need, again, it all comes down to those smooth landings.
It really does all come down to those smooth landings to get the best possible time. And speaking of those times, let's take a quick look at our top 8. Plixie at the top of the leaderboard. That is a name I absolutely do not recognize, but the fact that they're up at the top of the leaderboard means someone probably recognizes them, and I will be told who they are at some point. I have absolutely no doubt, but with an impressive time of 59.677, Lucker's Turbo behind with 59.7. It's a close at the top, but we still only have 3 players inside the 60-second mark. And given that, you know, Black Pulse was saying that they validated the map with a 58.5 second, that they were expecting to see top players down at 57 seconds, with only 5 minutes left in the warm-up, we have a long way to go. I think Black Pulse may have done a slightly better job of validating the map than they realized.
And to that end, I think maybe Black Pulse has underestimated some of the lesser-known drivers. I mean, it's seeing as maybe the top-end drivers could be hitting those 59s, 58s, maybe the unknowns are the one who, you know, step up to the gauntlet, step up to the plate and lay it down. You know, these RPGs vary so widely from week to week and challenge completely different skill sets at times. And seeing someone like Plixie, who, you know, otherwise might not be the most renowned, or I don't know, I'm new to the scene, so like they could do God's gift to this green earth, but like it's exciting. That's why these things are like, they're open bracket, they're elimination style, so like it could just happen that one of those top runners gets a stinker of a run and then someone pips them at the post. And I think that's what's really exciting about the format and maps like this in particular, because they're just, like you said, like you could be winning for the entire map for your entire month, or you could have a god run going, and then you might just not have enough speed. You may be underestimated in that last second, and then someone else gets that landing at the right angle off the wall bang, or, you know, they just do it first time and you need to go back to the red boosters. Those things can make all the difference, and maybe it's going to be someone that we don't know as well today, and maybe it's going to be one of our well-known runners. I think I've seen some of these names before watching the mini RPG series coming into this week. Like I recognize Yannick's there. I think I've seen Yannick's before, and I think I've seen Lucker's Turbo as well.
Definitely would have. You managed to pick out our 2 streamers immediately off the list as well. Yannick's an XTMGL pro player. Looker is a very good streamer from Germany as well. Yeah, these are definitely names that have been around for a while, and there are plenty of people as well. I've not seen a seed around, but he's had some very good finishes over the last while. Astronaut, of course, a previous winner. And at the moment, I think that is what, as you say, is particularly exciting. At the top of the leaderboard, in our top 3 time slots at the moment, Rin, Nako, Plixie. None of them have won a mini RPG of the week. I'm not sure. I think Nako might be the only one who's even gotten a podium before, and I'd have to go back through the archives to actually figure out if I'm talking through my ass on that one or if that's actually true. But
well,
yeah, it's exciting.
I must tell you, any legacy starts with a single win, and if this is where these players start to make their mark on the Trackmania community in the mini RPG of the week, well, wouldn't that be something wonderful? It's always up to new players to develop new tech, or not even new tech, but just refining what's already there. And every player has built on what has been before them. And if this is the time for those new players to make that mark, to put their stamp on this game, well, maybe we see the start of something new. Or maybe we see the old guard teach these young whippersnappers what for,
Yeah, absolutely. Could be fun. We should also take a quick second to admire the brand new signs littered around this track as well. New mini RPG of the week signs all over the place. And Black Pulse has been threatening that there may be a release of these signs in a pack for other people to use at some point in the future. Because, of course, we're always on the lookout for new tracks for Mini RPG of the week. If you have any interest in mapping, especially in the Mini RPG style, get in contact with Zederate, our usual admin, the man who puts together this whole tournament, because we need a track every single week to make this competition run, which means we're willing to talk to basically anyone about putting one together. We'd love to see what submissions people have to put together. And having a variety of different mappers and slightly different mapping styles, I think, is definitely one of the strengths of the competition as well. It means week on week, things get changed up. It means week on week, things stay fresh, and that's why we see so many of these players returning every single week as well.
Oh yeah, and that to say as well, like, Black Pulse has been playing the game and mapping since 2008, and to be doing that until this day, 14 years later in 2022, I think that says a lot for, like, what the game has to offer on so many ends of the experience. You could be in it for the driving, you could be in it for the mapping, you could be in it for both, really, and I think both add different layers to the toolbox of skills that you can develop. When you verify maps of your own, you start to get an understanding of, like, what design philosophy went into making it this way, or kind of understanding, oh, this is what this mapper was trying to do or achieve with this, and applying those skills thereafter, having made tracks like those yourself. It's so interesting, it's cool. There's so many ways you can get nitty gritty and in the paint, in the sauce with it. So truly, like, if you're interested in mapping, just give it a go. There's nothing to lose, and if anything, look at what Black Pulse has done with, the smallest modicum of effort they said they could offer us, but it looks to be quite comprehensive if you ask me, NuaLaoch.
Black Pulse being like, yeah, I didn't really try. Black Pulse is the kid who was like, yeah, I didn't really study for this week's exam. I didn't have as much time to put into this week's map, but hey, I think it's turned out pretty well. It's been pretty exciting as we roll into the end of our 15-minute warm-up. That will be it. Yannick's at the top of the leaderboard did manage to get down into the low 58, so we were calling out that we weren't getting all that close. We get very close to the 57 by the end. A 58.189 for Yannick's. Rin with a 58.4, and then Worker in third, sneaking in there in the last couple of minutes as well. 3 players into the 58 seconds. We'll expect to see those continuing to improve over the course of the competition. They usually do. We'll head into our first round. As usual, no elimination in this round, so we don't get too excited. And you're welcome for me telling you that, because, again, a classic, new casters casting a warm-up round.
So, NuaLaoch, how many people do you think will be eliminated this time?
Well, now's the time to start talking about it, right? What we're going to get to see at the end of this round, once the first car crosses the line, is how long the elimination timer is. So we know the map is about 58, nearly a minute long. Sure. I'd expect the timer will probably be about 40 seconds for elimination after the first car crosses the line. And this is a hard map. Like, there are a couple of jumps that I think some players are going to find very, very tricky. I'm going to say, let's also double check how many players are in this no elimination round before we start making anyone. I'm not going to predict 30 people if we have 40 players. About 75 players is what it looks like we're going to end up with. I think we could honestly end up with 13 eliminations or so.
I think that's reasonable. I think this map has many skill checks. You know,
There's our second fastest driver crashing the first jump. There's Yannick.
There's
Our
Yannick.
top driver crashing like turn number 5.
just straight up bonking that left tire on those tight corners. I think this could take some names. You know, I think this is maybe a very high variance map, and you can understand why, looking at the combination of precision driving sections, the jumps that you need such a precise landing angle just to maintain speed and momentum, and again that wall bounce at the end. Well, we're not even at it. We're coming up to it now here with Jandro, but goodness me, it's just hard to know. I think this is.
Every time.
It's left me stuck for words, Laoch. It's left me stuck for words, I tell you that.
Yeah, we're excited to see it. It's climbing, won't reach it. Oh, you hate to see it. Lookers Turbo made it with more than enough speed to get to the finish. A best time of over 1 minute in our warm-up round here. Plenty of players DNFing, of course, it doesn't matter. And Mochtfish, well, he's usually calling out the players who DNF. I'm just assuming that they needed to grab a drink of water, you know, last-minute phone call to their parents for support before they go into round 1. Whatever the reason may be, we will have plenty of DNFs. I forgot to actually check how long our timeout timer was, but as we approach 1:31, I believe it is about 45 seconds or so, maybe even closer to 50 seconds. So there is plenty of time. We may not see that many eliminations in the first round, but I'm still willing to call 13.
You know what? I'll raise you one. I'll say 14. With the track record of someone saying a number and it being one higher, I think I'm going to play those odds, and I'm going to, you know, do the dance with destiny and see who comes out the winner.
That's pretty smart.
There are stakes between the drivers, stakes between the commentators. It's all to play for, folks.
Round 1 underway here on Real Ease. Which players are going to release, but not too much. You still got to drive as fast as you can to that finish line. At least 8 players eliminated. We're expecting a couple more to do it. Lookers Turbo jumping off that first turn, and this map, if it is one thing, it is dense with tricks. Even that first little valley is catching a lot of players out.
Yeah, big time. I mean, like, the density and variety of tricks. Oh, okay, quick reset there. The variety and density of tricks is, you know, something that plays on your mental load, right? It's a thing that happens in fighting games as well. Just there's so much to keep in mind, and you're so concerned with making that first trick or that second trick, or just landing with the right angle, that you forget that, you know, you've taken your angle way too wide just in the first place.
It's tough, and Wintergreen is discovering exactly how tough it can be to, well, keep it tight enough to get through there. It was a very nice turn eventually when they got there. Viking currently the player riding on the danger line. It's going to be tough, but he's in a position to get to this checkpoint incredibly slowly. You do not accelerate fast on grass. You do not accelerate fast backwards, but you do accelerate eventually, and is still in 75th. Still needs to catch a place, and there definitely are places to catch it, including at the end. But you can see our first players have finished. BMX at the top with a time of 59 seconds. Viking crashing again, still needs to get to the finish line. It's going to be so close. And Super Marius, I mean, the players behind are not close. Vikings managed to climb out. Dubs did not actually get through this checkpoint at any point, and so it's a long way back still. I'm beginning to think these players are not going to reach the finish line. Now the question is, how many players do? Yeah,
I mean, we were looking at Vinters Green there briefly, and sorry. Oh my. The mental tax that kind of a game like this might take on you when there are such, like we were saying, tricky tricks ahead of us. But also, like we were saying, the variance really is at play here. Someone who, like we saw at the start, was, you know, playing for elimination, managed to escape it, and the person just ahead of them ended up, you know, struggling with it in the end. Okay, how many did we end up?
We were 11 eliminations. I was 2 off. And you went the wrong direction, you know.
I went the wrong direction, yeah.
Yeah, 2 below me, you would have had it. It's slightly less than maybe we were expecting. A lot of players making it to that finish. Very impressive. But, hey, that's no guarantee that they will do so again, as it will be 8 more eliminations this round. And we have to be aware that there are already some names dropping into the bottom. But I've seen Branko down there a couple of times. Lookers Turbo still down here at the start. Look, there's plenty of track left. We don't worry just yet. I mean, he's still right here. You have to assume someone else fails this section again. We've seen it happen. I've seen someone do it already. I've seen a couple of overtakes, and that'll be Lookers Turbo well into the safe zone as we jump on board with Orange Jewels.
I think one thing that I've noticed about this map so far, and forgive my naivety in my observations maybe, but I think this is very much a track in which tapping it in is a viable option. I mean, with the precision driving section, like here, we're with Bear at the moment, and they may be overtaken, but if they can like take their time and get to that risky finish with the wall bonk, they might be better off than someone who's like trying to go fast and get it way ahead of them to start. But like, it's who's the bottom 8 at the finish line. It's not who's the best person to get to the jump and then fail it 4 times, you know?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's not about the style in which you do it. It's about whether or not you do it at all. There are a couple of names down here at the bottom at the moment that we should be nervous for. Nako, definitely one of them. You know, was top 8 on the leaderboard for a while, is now going to get across the line. It's in 59th place. No, it's not. The scoreboard just takes a second to update. It's fine. It's okay. And 59th, well, even if it was 59th, that's actually safe. It's up to 64th. Gets eliminated this time around. The scoreboard on the left is not designed to handle 8 eliminations at a time. And so it does troll us quite hard in these early rounds. We will say goodbye to some Irish representation. Bazoot in 67th place ultimately will drop out of the competition, and that's a little bit unfortunate. But as you were saying, Drizzly, and to heavily reiterate that point, because you're absolutely right, slow and steady will win rounds. I say win rounds, it will get you through rounds. We've seen players who have definitely not been competing at the top make it into top 15s, top 10s before, just because they were that much more consistent than the players around them. They were not taking 2 attempts to take tricks. They didn't have the fastest attempts on those tricks when they did get them, but it would only take them 1 attempt, and this is definitely a map where that is a viable strategy.
Speaking of which, NuaLaoch, Yannick's last round seems to have broken that 57-second barrier, gotten into the lowest times that Blackpulse conceived of when mapping this in the first place. So slow and steady may win the race, but the early bird catches the worm, and we're seeing that play out right now.
How many animal-related parables can we fit into the
eagle-eyed viewers among you will notice that.
I hate that the zoologist, I'm blanking on the animals. That's maybe not great. I did well in my degree, I swear. Jungle Core is catching up.
Speaking of zoology, let's see what Jungle Core is up to, fighting for elimination at the back of the pack here. Oh, and we have Zoo Range.
Oh, God. Deployer, I'm firing you. You will never work in this town again. I can't believe you swapped the player at Zoo in their name at exactly this moment. They're completely safe at the moment as well. I guess they could fail the finish. They are failing the finish. That was genuinely huge brain, but there's still plenty of players behind them that could fail as well. Flame Zero needs to catch a few players, but it is a jungle here at the finish line. There are cars flying everywhere. Flame Zero recognizing. Didn't we say you have to recognize nice and early that you're not going to make it up? Was that early enough? I think it might have been. Well played by Flame Zero. Will just about snipe a 59th. Specifically because they did what we asked for. They recognized they wouldn't have to speed. Wait, no, they haven't made it. They're still driving. Are they still driving? I think they're still driving.
No,
the car was just rolling backwards. It was okay. It just makes me nervous because the cars roll back across anyway after they finish. So sometimes it's unclear if a car has finished or is going back for another attempt. That was what we asked for in the in the warm-up rounds, was that people recognize on that finish when they don't at the speed. Flame Zero did it and genuinely managed to snipe the place because of it.
It's those little things. Every one of them adds up to a complete RPG driver. Not just your skills on the track, but like your metagame knowledge of your decision making. Exactly. Ice in the mines. But also having hot tires allows you to get more grip on these tracks. Okay, the analogies don't always pop off, just like people who don't get the speed to make the jumps. But we're seeing that there is quite a separation of front and straggling pack now. Even people struggling to finish that first jump after the turn there.
It is fun to make from Mockfish. Previous, commentator. Oftentimes the commentator for Mini RPG of the week, and he may be a powerful fish, but he's not a flying fish at the moment, as he is struggling to make his way, as he said, over a few of these jumps. He is now gaining. This is not over just yet. He takes a bit more speed than the cars in front of him into that little jump, and you can see the risk of it. He didn't release enough. And with that, with real ease, the cars in front are powering away from him. He is still back up into 54th. He looks like he might be safe. So much comes down to it. That was an awkward transition. He's not going to make
reset
it.
Quick, okay.
And that's
we have the quick
necessary.
Reset.
It's the quick reset. That's why it's necessary to go for that quick reset.
Absolutely. And can they? Are they even in contention? Oh, it seems like it might be a little Too little, too late. No,
Oh, no,
they
get it.
make it. Okay.
Woo!
Ooh.
All right, Mark. He makes it nervous. He's doing the classic strategy of remain very close to the elimination zone to become the main character of stream, as we end up spending a lot more time watching you. And I'd imagine we're going to see him in that range a little bit more. It's not a skill issue. It's just there are, less players left at this point. We're down nearly a third of the way, nearly a quarter. We're down nearly a third of the players who entered at the start here. And it's going to continue to get harder and harder here, especially, as we said, on a map that could claim some very good players early on.
Speaking of good players that this map could claim, some good players are claiming this map. We have another 57 on the track, and I think people are starting to flirt with the idea of breaching that half-second barrier as well. Doing all of this while we see some of the better players like Mockfish, struggle to, stay above that elimination line a couple rounds in. Here. if
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. He'll get there. Bozbez, though, there's a player who is actually legitimately a very good player, and he's currently down in 52nd as he struggles to make his way back through the field. I say struggles to make his way through the field. He's carving through it like a hot knife through butter at the moment, and showing us exactly what you want to do. It's so satisfying again when you see the players land right underneath that low bar, but it definitely is a bar that they can crash straight into. We saw it in the warm-up as players were doing their discovery. You can go head first into that bar. It's very easy to carry too much speed into that. In our bottom four at the moment, Branko, probably the player we'd expect to not be at risk, who is at risk at the moment, is going to need to overtake a couple of people at the end, is going to need to snipe people. Did so with ease. On our bottom four, well, just about, it looks like Bjorn, Jules, Carl, Lucky, Alpha Dream, and Dazzy are just still looking to get over this finish line. Will do so with ease that time, but it's a 53rd place.
As these rounds progress, more and more players who you'd expect to be at the top might fall prey to that density of complex tricks and skills that we need to see executed, but executed well as well. Maybe falling prey to the, I suppose, the mental load of trying to not be eliminated when there are people who you might expect to be doing better than as well. And it's kind of this compounding of mental stack among the other things that you have to be worried about, but just seeing people who you're expecting to be keeping up with and keeping pace with way ahead of you, or you can't even see their names because they're just in a different pack entirely. But also you can see just the pack is so spread out. There may be 10 car lengths between the first and the last car in that pack, and then there are still people re-attempting the jump to start the track in the first place.
Absolutely, and there was a little bit of a visual bug, it looks like, in the last round, because it said Dazzy had DNF'd. I believe Dazzy was safely inside the top 50, 52 somewhere, and that was just the scoreboard being a little bit weird. As we can see, Dazzy still happily driving around on the course. Yogg is failing. Will they must be to make it the second time around? Yes, they will. Yogg, a very strong player in Mini RPG of the week now, with a little bit of work to do in front of them and some players to catch up with. Overtakes one, will overtake a second here, and if anyone fell off the beam, we'll overtake them as well. Looks like nobody really did. And that means Yogg's still in a little bit of a tough spot. We saw someone not moving at the top of the hill just there, and that means room to catch up with people is immediately back up into 45th, but makes a little bit of contact. And now the question is there speed to make this jump? It looks like the answer is yes, just about. And an instant double respawn to make sure their speed to get into the finish. That's decision making. That will get Yogg up into the top 47. And now the question is Grahamington there as well. Yes, in 47th place, and that is, I think, the most English name I could possibly conceive of.
Seeing the decision to preemptively double reset, knowing that they were coming in with maybe suboptimal speed, was just the coldest thing you can do. It was just such an expert display of all the things we've talked about so far. They were nipping at heels. They made a little bit of an error trying to make one of the jumps, and they made up for it. And when it came down to brass tacks, it stood to them.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who they beat is Branko, who you can see in chat saying, yeah, the finish was just a tiny bit too high. Do you know what that means? That means Branko probably could have gotten in there if they had just gone for a double respawn, if they kind of made the decision, I don't think I have speed, I have time to safe it. And that is the difference. Right at the death, you need to know whether or not you're going to be in it. Branko went out. Nako went out last round as well. 2 big names claimed at this point. Now Jojo is in the danger zone, but climbs right back out of it. A little bit more Irish representation at risk, though. Dank TM down here. Dank, I think, with the best ever Irish finish in a mini RPG of the week. Looking to maybe not replicate it this week unless they can maybe keep it clean through the rest of the track. Well, with cars in front of you bouncing off walls like that, it'll make life a little bit easier.
They may have just skimmed their back tires under that post, but they seem to be carrying enough speed to safely, I suppose, escape the elimination line. But it's quite the scramble. It's always a maelstrom at the end. You can never really quite tell who's who, as there's just this flurry, raindrops of cars, this tempest of sorts, when we try to see among this confusion and this melee of cars who has finished, who hasn't. The only true way to know is to look at the leaderboard on the side and just,
it's
hope.
True. And there is Geku taking the last place available in this round. I've been giggling, as we will say, potentially, I say Geku is the last person to finish. Now, unless we may have been lied to by the leaderboard again, Dazzy may have not DNF'd. Maybe Dazzy did DNF. I don't know. We'll see if Dazzy is still around in the next one as well. Meanwhile, I was giggling because I didn't even want to mention the possibility of a 56 while we were still looking to break 57.5 seconds. Yannick is into the 56 seconds marks. This is a map that absolutely suits the player, and it does look like he's going to continue on a tear as well. Jojo's down here at the start again, making their way through the valley. That's a section of the map right at the start that I'm looking forward to in our late rounds, Drizzly, because that's a section of the map that very early on players might have slightly different lines for. Players will have optimized it slightly better. And that could create a situation in late rounds where there is a couple of tents where players are chasing from very early in the map, and that's always a fun place to be on a mini RPG.
Oh yeah, playing with your lead in a format like this must be so satisfying and comfortable to know that you've kind of left your opponents in the dust.
That's where you go, my dude.
But again, it in more than one way, having that early lead in a track like this, it's such a huge thing. And again, it compounds, right? Because not only do they have to contest the idea that, there's a load of hard tricks, but if you make that lead in those first 5 seconds, those first 10 seconds, the first 2-3 turns, you just have a nicer line, you have a better landing out of that first jump after that first large turn, you're going to be laughing. You're going to be laughing at the bank, like.
Giggling all the way to the bank, of course. There is no prize pool for this, but maybe one day we'll manage to find a sponsor, and then who knows, it'll be nice for sure. We're seeing Flo, Zemius, Alex, Raccoon, and Jacka knocked out in this round. We're down inside 40 players now, half the field gone essentially at this point. We have a few rounds left yet of the 4 eliminations. It is, I believe, it'll be down to when we're at 16 players, 15 players maybe, since I think we started with an odd number, that we head to 2 eliminations around, but it's a little bit of time left before that.
Okay, now let's see what can I suppose, the people who are with the higher times, what can they do to catch up to people like Yannick who are setting those 56s? Like, how do they adapt as the lines go on? Do they match the speed in the lines, the tempo the other players are setting, or do they keep trying what they've been trying to try and refine their own version of what they think is the best way to drive this map? Obviously, it's always good to learn from those that you can see around you, but sometimes you've got the horse blinders on. You can't really think about all that when you have all the rest of this to contend with. So what can people like, is this Wood Merlin, can they do enough to kind of eke out and nip at these people's heels and take it? Oh, well, it looks like they have already. It's more like Area's time to purpleize.
Maybe Jam, maybe someone's definitely going to need to do some catching up. Jam right now is going to be the player that needs to do it, and that's going to be
that is the wrong place to rotate your car. It's the next jump, Jam, but we'll see if they can actually get the speed and the rotation to finish first try and not have to reset. It would buy them so much time, but
no, they don't. They managed to get back to the red booster. I think they have enough speed to make it. Yeah, they do, and that was the difference between getting the red booster and not. Jam makes it in. Bear will make it in 35th. Bozbez will drop out very early on, indeed, and that's definitely a little bit unusual.
Well, rest in peace, Bozbez. Sometimes you do just have to lay your life on the line, like Jam did, flirting with fate there, potentially not getting far back enough to hit that red booster, but they managed it. It feels like maybe they've developed that little bit of intuition, that the game sense that you might need to just do that little bit you need to eke out the risky finish, the no reset, whereas we saw it earlier with Yogg. The double reset instantaneously benefited them beyond any measure they could stay in when it looked like all was lost, when they were just nipping at the pack's heels. But, you know, that goes to show that it's like there's more than one way to play this mini RPG, and it's, you know, it's a hard track, man. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what other way to put it, you know?
Hey, it's a hard track to drive, and these players are putting on a masterclass. You asked in the last round, what can players close to him do to try and beat Yannick's? I think just hope he makes a mistake and randomly drops out in 30th place is always a good one as well. It's unlikely, but he was down near the bottom for a little while there, and honestly, as we get closer and closer to the top, one mistake, whether it's at the beginning or the end, it doesn't matter where, that will start to be enough to cost players rounds, that will be enough to start sending players out. Dank right now looks to have been one mistake too many, will need to hope for a couple of fails in front of him at the finish at this point, will probably immediately need to double respawn. It came through instantly, and now Dank just needs to head backwards and hope that someone else failed. Hope that the double respawn was in time. It looks like probably not. Yes, it was.
The double
Up
respawn
into
was
31st.
so clutch. The angle they were coming in from the wall bounce was appalling, horrendous. They were just going to fall off entirely. They realized with perfect timing they must have got in by milliseconds. Really excellent showing there.
Sniped Nyaruko. And Nyaruko, the player with the 8th best time on the server as well, one of very few players inside the 59-second mark with a 58.97, will not be taking part in the rest of this week's mini RPG of the week because, again, a snipe on the finish line, a double respawn in time has saved lives.
It keeps showing that, you know, you can do it one way, you can do the other way, but the consistency, the ability to finish the map within a minute and 1 second maybe, it benefits you way more than finishing it maybe with the God Run with like a 56.862 like Yannick. Sometimes just finishing the map, just doing it in the most consistent way, that's all you want, that's all you need. Consistency over high peaks, you know. Peaks of performance are great and all, they get you these, you know, record times, they get you author medals and things like that, but sometimes that consistency just, it pushes you over the line. It gets you into the position where you can even contend those, ooh, unfortunate from Bear the Fifth, a fellow Ursine fan, unfortunately looks like they might be struggling a little bit, and I think unless there's some kind of
Remember when I said
upset.
Yannick's randomly dropping out in 30th might be your play?
Forget Yannick's. They're at 28th? No?
I mean, I
Holy
think he
moly.
might just be in 28th place. I think Yannick's is just gone. I called it. All right, I'm taking that as a W for my predictive abilities.
You know, I was talking about peaks of performance versus consistency, and that just says it all. Yannick's setting the course. Oh, well, they had been pipped at the post there too. Seems like Worker
in
has...
this round or the last round, Worker overtook them. That's brutal. That's just insult to injury.
Oh, the wound has been salted and cured. Let's see who's going to be the one that we are looking for and looking at. We've been keeping on our eye on Yannick's. Maybe that was the foreshadowing that we were hoping would come to play out for that top spot when we get later into the rounds. But, you know, as I say that, Worker seems to have been caught in last place at the start of this track. So looks like those people who were playing for those top times are now struggling with that consistency aspect. You know, they've been going for these precise lines that get them such fast times that, you know, if it doesn't go quite right, maybe they don't know the consistent way of driving the wrap as well as when they first started driving it. And it's kind of led to, oh, and as I say that, Worker is absolutely blazing a trail through the back of the pack and absolutely storming up to the front, saying that no, I will be defiant, I won't go out here, I will not be made into a chump like Yannick's was. And I think I've managed to do it.
I think they've managed to do it as well. I see Dank getting across the line. Area does. Yogg sneaks in 23rd, and it's Scalix, Greep, it's Gold Push, and Akros, who will be the unlucky players to drop out just outside the top 20. As we are getting down to the business end of things rapidly. Greep is launched into outer space as well. And there is the other side of it as well, right? Like, yeah, maybe when things go wrong, the recovery, if they don't have the perfect line, sometimes some of the top players have spent so long practicing that and tunnel visioning on doing that they don't recover perfectly. But when they need to carve their way through the field, when they need to get a perfect run at higher speed than anyone else can manage, hey, they have the ability to do it. Worker managed to pull it off there. We'll see if the rest of them can manage to keep this consistency up, as yet Kozdo is falling a little bit behind. And there's exactly what I was talking about, because that's a good player. That's yet Kozdo is now pretty high up in this tournament. Still there is struggles on that first turn. Still there is players falling a few tenths behind, and that's only going to continue as the tournament runs.
As I was saying earlier, excellent, brilliant player Moxfish, still in contention for this RPG of the week, Alex. You may say the commentators, you know, less about the driving side, more about the production side of things, but it seems like they're holding their own quite well. Yeah, I mean, that ability to, you know, dig down deep, find it within you. We're seeing Worker again coming from the back of the pack and just slicing their way through those maybe, you know, 15th to 16th positions to kind of really make the mark that, like, okay, I may have, you know, faltered a little bit, but I can get back up and I can still fight. And then, you know, like, overtake and qualify, just making that consistent finish rather than the consistent start.
No, Yogg can't keep getting away with this. That is about the 5th round that Yogg has sniped someone on the line. I believe with another double respawn as well. Come on, man. You gotta stop. This is bullying at this point on players on the elimination. People keep thinking like, yay, I'm safe. And then Yogg out of nowhere with the steel goddamn chair taking their place away. It's ridiculous. You're never safe. If he manages to get all the way to the finals and do that, I would lose my mind. I think it's, hey, unlikely, but the fact it's happened this much already is actually absurd.
That one also giving Black Pulse a little giggle in game chat there, having a little laugh that Yogg has, as you said, yet again, everyone has their eyes on those elimination lines, and if you can pip someone, that's all it takes. It's not really about how fast you can go, it's about where you place. And currently Rin TM, who we saw earlier in the warm-up rounds, was, you know, setting our first couple of leaderboard times, seems to be struggling now. But let's see if they can do what Worker has been doing when they found themselves at the back of the pack. Can they slice? Can they weave? Can they really dig deep, find that determination? And let's see if they can get ahead of Ice, who seems to be the other next person in line. Well, it seems like Worker has finished ahead of them. I'm so confused. Maybe I witnessed that visual.
Absolutely have. Yeah,
I got very confused. They were...
Ice has given up. Dank, I believe, is not going to with the speed maker. Coho is going to just make it up to the finish there, and Dank will be heading for the Irish knockout. Will drop in 19th place. And, you know, I mean, ultimately, it's still a very good finish. It's still top 20 and a strong finish for Dank. But we're starting to see some players. There were, as you said, I think, real risks there, because we have seen, sure, top players continuing to make a mistake early and then manage to climb their way back through the field. But a lot of the time, they've been climbing back to kind of, you know, like 10th to 15th, right? And hey, that's how many players are left at this point. It is only 2 eliminations around now, so a little bit safer in this round for the players. It's not, you know, a full quarter of the field getting eliminated. It is down to about half that.
Needing that reset there.
And it's, yeah, we're going to see that. That may be a mistake where at this point, let's keep eyes on Yekkozdo a bit as well. This may be the round that it costs them. This may be the round that it costs Worker, because they are a full couple of seconds adrift of the pack, and they will need at least one place to get back into it. The player in front of them is Rin. Rin, 4th on the leaderboard. This is also a player who can keep things consistent on the track, and there's a little bit of daylight between them and the rest of the field then as well. We see one player right in front. I believe that's Yogg again. I wouldn't want to be trying to catch Yogg on the finish line. Is Worker back through? I think someone made a mistake. A couple of people have made mistakes.
I think Rin had to reset there on that checkpoint. I think Worker has maybe found their way into, you know, out of elimination, not needing that reset. And let's see, Yekkozdo, that mistake at the start seems to have cost them everything. But they seem to get a nice line up here. Let's see if they can snipe someone. I think it might be a little too late. Okay. Yeah.
A 14th place finish.
And
Hey,
Rin.
it's still strong. Rin in 15th is a little bit tough for the player that had... It was, again, like, it's, you know, every time. The 4th best time on the leaderboard up until this round, and then you get eliminated and your time gets knocked a little bit further down as someone manages to go a little bit faster as well. 15th place, nothing to sniff at yet, caused, as you said, an early mistake. Cost them everything, as there just is not enough track and there are not enough mistakes left to catch up to these players. I've seen a very early mistake from somewhere there at the start. Was it Mocked? I think it was Mocked, who managed to crash straight into a pole. The first possible pole on the map. It wasn't Mocked. It was someone else entirely. I was lied to on the leaderboard. Mocked is managing to keep it up. Ernie is just about going to struggle over that ledge, but the car is now a long way back.
Unfortunate for Ernie Ball. They seemed to be doing so well up until this point. And it seems like players like Worker have managed to find themselves in these latest rounds. Yogg, no, flirting yet again, giving us the most tense but the most satisfying victory. If they can find their way back out of elimination, you just got to say that the plot armor is on their side. There's no one who can stop them. It's probably their week. And
okay, hang on.
BMX22.
BMX, what are
Yogg?
you doing back here? Yogg is doing it. Yogg might actually manage to make it all the way back to the top at the end. Mocked is just in front of them. I actually think Yogg doesn't have enough speed. Didn't have enough speed or recognized it themselves. I think at this point it's too late. I think Ernie Ball has managed to finish.
I think it is too late.
They absolutely have. BMX will finish in front as well, and BMX and Yogg will go hand in hand into the night. I gotta tell you, last week BMX had the dark magic, was making everyone crash out in front anytime he was in danger. This week Yogg has managed to snipe people every round, and what a fitting round that both of them be eliminated together.
Sometimes you dance with Lady Luck, and sometimes she's a stone cold statue, and Yogg was just flirting a little too close with that elimination line throughout the night. We say, yeah, they were, you know, avoiding elimination by sniping it, but also they were finding themselves in that situation often enough that, you know, it ended up taking them in the end. Ernie Ball yet again finding themselves at the back, but Worker also finding themselves struggling.
Yeah, forced respawn from Jan van Speek in the middle of the track there. Worker made a mistake on a very early jump just before that ring checkpoint. And that means life is on the struggle bus right now for these two cars. But look at how fast Worker is through that section. He pulled out nearly a second over Jan there. He caught up to the pack. He caught up specifically to Moxfish, who is now going to be in the danger zone a little bit. Worker crashed again, though. Was too fast for his own good, and now needs to rely on overtaking on the last jump. Needs someone to crash out. Jan van Speek, it looks like, has. Jan van Speek, are they fast enough to make it to the finish? Worker will be faster. This is a drag race to the finish line. Worker onto the red booster has more than enough speed and will take away the 9th place. Jan finishes as well. But there's the speed. There's what a good landing earns you. There's the 9th place and inside the top 10 for Worker.
That was incredible. Worker truly saying, oh, did you catch the first one? Okay, no, let me do it again. Let me run that one back for you. Let me say it again louder for the folks in the back. Truly showing their adaptability, how adept they are at this map. There's a reason they have the top time on the leaderboard. And maybe it's just that those later sections are where they really shine. You know, these first sections, you know, the curvature of that little horse saddleback, you know, the little half pipe, maybe a little tricky to get right every time. But when it comes to those fine driving sections with the nice little tight weaves, and the release part of the map.
Yeah. Listen, Mockfish still doing incredibly well. Top 3 at the moment on this round, but it's down at the bottom where the eliminations happen, and that's where we're focusing our attention. Enjoy Solo Q will climb into 7th. Lucker's Turbo dropping into 8th, and now carrying a little bit more speed, but trying to carry a little bit too much speed. Getting desperate on that last corner, catching the wheel on an edge, and now again needing maybe someone in front to fail. This turn, no, won't happen. Next turn, this wall bounce, that's where the chance comes through. Everyone in front, is everyone making it? It looks like it. I see a couple of cars going maybe slowly. Tarpour is a little bit slow. Lucker's Turbo might have the speed at the end to catch someone on the line. He overtakes Tarpour in the air and luckily was 4th anyway. It was incredibly safe. Aereo will take a 7th place. Enjoy Solo Q in 8th. And Mockfish, where did it all go wrong? You were so high up. Will drop in 9th place. A strong finish inside the top 10 will get onto that Liquipedia page anyway.
Commentators cursed, what can I say, NuaLaoch? I mean, sometimes your commentators are cursed to never make the top 8. And sometimes names are just a little bit auto-descriptive. Enjoy solo queue.
Yeah, I mean, does anyone, like, is that a thing in any game ever?
Enjoying solo queue? I don't know.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, that's true. Caster's curse, it came through unmocked in the last round, and of course, as casters, we are cursed with these terrible, terrible good looks, Drizzly. But, you know, we'll move on. Terrible jokes and self-praise, and we'll watch this round. We're nearly down to the top 5. Last round of double eliminations. It's a tough round to be eliminated on. You want to get into that top 5. You want to give yourself that shot, that realistic shot at the podium. I see Speedself just yeeting themselves off a wall there, and Raylux is now just about in the danger zone, but Tarpor is just in front. Lucker's Turbo is just in front. Has there been a mistake? Nobody making mistakes into the final section, into this wall bounce. Is everyone going to make it across? It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 cars in front are okay, and it's Raylux
the double
who
reset
makes the mistake. Now needs to rely on somebody not having the speed to make it up, but that seems unlikely at this point of the map. Speedself rolling down to it. Raylux will finish in 6th place, and Speedself will take a distinguished 7th, and we have locked in our top 5.
The discerning among the viewers will note that during the warm-up rounds, Plixie was setting those, maybe set the first record for the map.
Yeah.
Now currently sitting with their own 57, not quite breaching that 56, but finished first ahead of Worker, even in the last stretch of the map. So it's really coming down to it all now. You know, players who may be known, like Yannick's has been eliminated, folks. Lucker's Turbo's left. We really don't know who's going to come out on top, but more importantly, who's going to be eliminated this round? I mean, it's a real dogfight down at the back. We have Area, who's just lagging behind slightly, but they seem to have taken a little bit more speed. And the landing, Lucker's Turbo, they've been overtaken, Alex.
Yeah, it's gonna get close here. All of these rounds are going to be close, it feels like, at this point. Lucker's Turbo has been burned on that drop down a couple of times before and took it incredibly safely, but in 5th place with 4 good players in front of you, safe may not be the option that you can afford. You need one of them to make a mistake now. Lucker's Turbo instead is the player who makes a little bit of a mistake, is going to try and do the finish backwards, is going to do the full respawn. Tarpor forced the respawn as well. And if Lucker's had done the respawn a little bit earlier, if the decision making had been there, Drizzly, if they had trusted themselves to go for the respawn, they would have been through. Instead, it's Tarpor by mere seconds, and that's the drama we come to Mini RPG of the Week for.
It's your pride, your ego, your skill, your reputation. It's all on the line here, and Plixie is making a case for themselves. Worker, Tarpor, these are all names I've seen before. Plixie, I don't know that I'm so familiar with them. Ooh,
this could be elimination between Plixie and Worker now. Both of them make a mistake coming out of the valley. Both of them now chasing the leading pack. 4 seconds drift, and it's Worker who makes the next mistake. Won't have the speed to make this jump. Needs to respawn. There was where you could have respawned earlier and maybe given yourself more of a fighting chance. You need Plixie to make a big mistake now. You need nearly 8 seconds to get back into it. The question is, will Plixie make that mistake? Will one of the cars in front make it? They are a full 13 seconds clear of Worker right now, so it'd be a bit of a miracle if Worker manages to overtake one of them. Plixie who
is making slight hesitations here, but playing it a little bit safe. You know, we've said it stands to you at the double resets. You know, it's all about consistency, and it's coming down to that. Yet again, the person with the top time isn't the person who's winning the week. And it seems like Plixie has done it again. They've made it to top 3. Unexpected. Well, here we are.
Yeah. Into our top 3, our podium locked in. It will be Plixie, it will be Tarpor, and it will be our final player in that top 3 area. And this is going to be incredibly exciting. We'll hope for no early mistakes. We don't want to see anyone chasing from too far back. We want to see close rounds from here on out. It was a close fight at the top in the last round. Only 4/10 separated them. Tarpor is already separating them out. And didn't we say, we've said it all tournament long, that this valley was going to allow players to gain and lose tenths at the start. Tarpor has clipped, and now they're on the chase.
Oh my god. Any small mistake or hesitation completely squanders any contention that you might have had. Like you're seeing now, Plixie Area, they can play it a little safe. They've bought themselves time by simply completing the tricks. Okay, that's one.
Will it matter? No, it's fine. It's fine. They're safe because that's the drop-down section and a slight clip on the edge. It looked like won't cost them anything at the time being. Tarpoor still many seconds adrift of the two leaders who are having a great race to the finish. This is a great round anyway. Honestly, Area is going to go a little bit deeper into this booster, and so might have a little bit more speed. It'll be close to the end. No, Plixie will take it. Area releasing, taking enough speed to get to the finish, but not enough to try and get the overtake done as well. Tarpoor will get to the finish line, potentially will DNF in the end. That means we have our top two. It'll be Area taking on Plixie. I believe two first-time mini RPG of the week players. Plixie for sure. Area I'm not sure about. And what a finals this is set to be.
If you told me last week that it would be Plixie and Area TM in the final 2 spots of this mini RPG of the week, I would have been like, I don't really know who the players are, but now having watched it and seeing players like Worker and Yannex who have so clearly made incisions and great lines, great decisions in routing this map, it comes down to these 2 players. And that's what I said. Any legacy starts with a single victory.
It's true. Plixie has been risking it all on the start of this round, but it's Area who makes the first mistake. Plixie had been pushing it to the edge, and Area makes a second mistake, and I think that might be all she wrote. Has Area, in fact, DNF'd? I think they might have. I don't think the DNF is the right decision. Plixie, it's just a glory run to the finish now. It's just feeling good about yourself, as that's one last backflip. It's one last backward section onto the boosters. Hit the red, get the speed, and head the climb up the hill into the finish. Plixie wins Mini RPG of the Week number 16, defends all comers, and from early on in the night, stake to claim to this map.
GG's to everyone involved and everyone participating, but congratulations to Plixie. Wow, really, truly, the the climax we didn't see coming, and yet you can see that little green name at the top. Winner, Plixie 999, wins the match. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, we love a little bit of Mini RPG of the Week. We love to see first-time winners, and we love to see just good competition all around. That's exactly what we got tonight, Drizzly, and we are blessed. We are blessed for it. And thank you again to Black Pulse, our mapper for tonight. Thank you to everyone who joined us for this, watching, playing, whatever it was. We're always happy to have you be a part. I would like at this point to remind you all again to get involved, get play if you want. Hey, reach out to me. We're always looking for co-casters as well. If we even have Drizzly on, you're in with a shout, you know. And we do need mappers. This is the call. If you have even the slightest idea for a mini RPG mapper, if you think you might enjoy mapping mini RPG, then hey, reach out to Zederate, the regular mapper, or not the regular mapper, the regular admin for this competition. You can find him in the Trackmania RPG Discord server. !Discord in the chat will get you there. And he'll talk to you about it. He'll see what you have, and he'll be very helpful in these things. In fact, that Discord as a whole, very helpful if you're interested in mapping, very interested in if you're just playing RPG in general. Drizzly, that was a lot of words in a very short amount of time. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to shout out before we head off for the evening?
I'd like to shout out myself. Go check me out over on Twitch. I played a lot of Trackmania today, but yeah, I've got YouTube, I've got Twitch. I might be getting a little bit more into the casting stuff if they'll have me again. NuaLaoch over here, good friend of mine, a great guy, great caster. And shout out to D-Deployer. Absolutely goated on the sticks. What can I say? And shout outs to all the players who participated today, and shout outs to you who are thinking about getting into Trackmania. I do encourage it. I've started myself, and I'm quite enjoying it, you know?
It's true. Listen, mapping. It's a good time. Yeah.
You can play Mario Kart and Mario what's it called? Anyway, it's been an absolute blast. Thanks for having me on. Go check out my stuff. I'm Drizzly Bear TV over on Twitch. I'm Drizzly Bear on Twitter. I'm Drizzly Bear. I don't have the YouTube URL yet, but anyway, I think that'll be it from me. Back to you, Laoch. Do you have anything else to add? Anything else to plug?
That's it. Goodbye.
Okay.
See you, everyone.
Later,
have a lovely
folks.
time, and we'll see you next week.